Welcome to Dracula Files. Five strange ghost encounters in history. Number 5. Murder victim helps convict her husband. In the year 1897, on the 23rd day of January, 23-year-old Zona Histashue died under mysterious circumstances at her home in Green Brier County, West Virginia. Strangely, by the time a doctor arrived, Zona's husband, Erasmus Shue, had already moved her body from the downstairs area to the bed and dressed her. Throughout the next few days, Erasmus displayed some bizarre behavior over his wife's passing. But since the cause of death was initially believed to be heart failure, no one suspected foul play. However, weeks after Zona was laid to rest, her mother, Mary Zane Hister, paid a visit to the local prosecutor to ask for her daughter's body to be exhumed. This decision was motivated by alleged visit from Zona's ghost. Mary Jane claimed that Zona's ghost had visited her over the course of fortnight and revealed that Erasmus was an abusive husband who had broken her neck by strangling her in a fit of rage. The authorities agreed to Mary Jane's request to exhume her daughter. An autopsy revealed that Zona's neck had been broken. Erasmus was arrested and charged with his wife's murder, even though the evidence against him was very circumstantial. When Mary Jane was called to the witness stand at the trial, Erasmus' defense attorney challenged the story about her supposed encounters with the Green Brier ghost. However, Mary Jane never wavered from her original story, and her testimony proved to be so convincing and believable that the jury could not disregard it. In the end, they would find Erasmus Shue guilty. He was given a life sentence at Moundsville Penitentiary, where he died 3 years later. Number 4. Man sued for slandering a ghost. If one was to look through centuries worth of court records, they would be hard-pressed to find a more bizarre case than Booty vs. Barnaby. Some specific details are unknown, such as the first names of the participants, and the whole thing sounds too unbelievable to be true. Yet an official excerpt of this case was actually found in the records of the Court of the King's Bench from 1688. The story goes that on May 15, 1687, a sea captain named Barnaby and his crew were shooting for rabbit on the island of Stromboli in Italy. That afternoon, they saw a man being chased across the island by a figure dressed in black. Barnaby recognized the man being pursued as Mr. Booty, his neighbor from back home in Gravesend, England. The two figures ran toward the volcano and mysteriously disappeared into some flames of fire. A month later, Barnaby returned home and was shocked to learn that Mr. Booty had died around the exact same time Barnaby saw him being chased on Stromboli. Barnaby became convinced that he had seen Booty's ghost and that he was chased into the flames of hell. The story soon spread around town, but Barnaby received a stunning surprise when he found out that the deceased man's widow, Mrs. Booty, was filing a lawsuit against him for slander. Apparently, she did not like the idea of Barnaby spreading rumors that her late husband had been condemned to hell. Believe it or not, this case was actually heard at the Court of the King's Bench. Barnaby had recorded the incident from Stromboli in his ship's journal, and at least 30 witnesses backed up his story. Many of them testified that Mr. Booty appeared to be dressed in the same clothing he was wearing at the time of his death. The court came to the conclusion that the whole 30 witnesses could not be mistaken. They ruled that Barnaby had not committed slander. Mrs. Booty lost the case. Number 3. Ghost saves people from hurricanes. Hollis Island is a small coastal town in South Carolina. The town has become notable for the presence of a spirit known as the Gray Man. Ever since 1822, there have been numerous sightings of a mysterious spectral figure who wanders the area's coastline. Much folklore surrounds the Gray Man, and there are numerous theories about his identity. One popular story is that he was a young man on the way to ask his lover to marry him, but died after getting caught in the quicksand. Because of this, he is forever condemned to wander the area, searching for his lost love. However, what elevates the Gray Man from being more than a standard ghost story is the long-standing belief that seeing him could potentially save your life. It's rumored that the Gray Man always makes an appearance before a major hurricane hits the area. If you happen to him, you will be spared from the storm's destruction. Eyewitnesses have claimed that the Gray Man allegedly warned them to leave the area before a hurricane arrived. When the hurricane passed, these witnesses will return to the area to find their homes completely undamaged. While these stories may sound like urban legends, there is at least one documented case of such a situation happening in modern times. In September 1989, an elderly couple named Jean and Clara Moore claimed to have passed by the Gray Man during a walk outside their beach home. Not long afterward, Hurricane Hugo hit the area and caused widespread destruction. However, even though the surrounding homes were completely destroyed, the Moore's residence was inexplicably left unharmed. Number 2. Dead pilot returns to clear his name. On the morning of May 27, 1913, Lieutenant Desmond Arthur, an Irish-born pilot in the Royal Flying Corps, took off in the BE-2 biplane for a seemingly routine training flight at the Montrose Airfield in Scotland. However, the right wing of the aircraft suddenly snapped off in mid-flight and Arthur was killed in the subsequent crash. Initially, it was believed that the tragedy was caused by a faulty repair job on the plane. However, 3 years later, an official government investigation will determine that Arthur himself was at fault for the crash. Many of Arthur's fellow airmen were unhappy about this black mark on his record. But it wasn't long before Montrose Airfield would be plagued by a series of unexplained supernatural events. In August 1916, personnel stationed at Montrose started having visions of what appeared to be the ghostly apparition of a pilot. Some of the witnesses recognized the mysterious figure and believed it to be the ghost of Desmond Arthur. The sightings became so widespread that terrified airmen started abandoning their post or requesting a transfer from Montrose. Finally, C.G. Gray, the editor of the flying magazine The Aeroplane, decided to push forward the theory that Arthur had returned to haunt his former airfield in response to the government investigation that smeared his name. Gray successfully lobbied for the investigation into the crash to be reopened. This time, the verdict was that Desmond Arthur was not responsible. After Arthur's name was cleared, the Montrose ghost will disappear, save for one last sighting where he appeared to be smiling. Number 1. Ghost helps family find his missing will. In 1921, James L. Chaffin, a farmer from Mocksville, North Carolina, died after a fall. He left behind a wife and 4 sons. James' will, which had been written out many years beforehand, left the family farm to his 3rd son, Marshall. However, legal problems arose the following year when Marshall unexpectedly died. Since there was no provision for the rest of the Chaffin family in the will, they wound up losing their estate to Marshall's widow. However, in the year 1925, James' 2nd son, Chaffin, shocked everyone by filing a lawsuit to challenge the will's validity. Even more shocking was the fact that his lawsuit was brought on by alleged interactions with the ghost. James Jr. claimed he had been having a series of dreams where he was visited by his father's spirit. One night, James Sr. suddenly appeared wearing his old overcoat and told his son that a new will could be found in the inside pocket. When James Jr. retrieved his father's overcoat, he discovered that the inside pocket was covered by a new lining. Hidden in the pocket was a note that read, "Read the 27th chapter of Genesis in my daddy's old Bible." James Jr. soon tracked down his grandfather's old Bible and was shocked to discover that a new will was actually hidden inside right next to the 27th chapter of Genesis. It had been written by James Sr. in 1919. James Sr. now wanted his estate to be divided equally among his 4 children. At trial, experts seemed to agree that the handwriting on the will actually did belong to James L. Chaffin. Even Marshall's widow became convinced that the will was genuine.